Today I am here with my classmate Ben Peters. Thanks for being here.
No problem at all.
We have a couple of questions for you. First of all, there has been a lot of talk about the reformation of the Electoral College. What do you think about this? Can you explain how the change will come to be?
Well, a lot of voices are talking about actually reforming the Electoral College because it isn't representative of every being, every human, every man, every woman, every child in a state. So, example given, you have California. California has a lot of inhabitants, more than 1 million, but only 100,000 people voted for Donald Trump. That's 1/10 of the state. So 1/10 voted for Trump, and the other 90% voted for Hillary. The problem with that is that, well, okay, Hillary gets all the votes for that state, so all the votes go to Hillary. Problem is, okay, it's only 1/10, but it's still 100,000 people that don't get represented in their votes towards who is going to be the president, even though they voted. So it's a difficult spot to be in because you have this system that has been there for more than 300 years, and you want to change that into something new, but you don't exactly know how. So they're debating on either transforming it into the system that we have in Belgium. So the percentage of votes for that party go towards the percentage of votes. So if you have 10 votes, if you have 10 votes in a country and 1/10 votes for Hillary, then you get 1 vote, and the other 9 go towards Donald. Or in a multi-party system, you have if you have 4 parties, it gets split between those 4 parties. Problem with that is that you also have the two-party system, and they want to change that as well because you only have 2 parties and no one pays attention to the other candidates. So you have Jill Stein or Steen, and you have Gary Johnson. They have like 1% of the votes because they just don't get the attention they deserve because you live in a 2-party system. So it's difficult because you want to give the people the representation that they want, but it's also going against the tradition, and they want to reform that in a way that you still preserve tradition, but you also have more representation for your inhabitants.
Very well. Do you think the reformation will take a long time, or do you think it will be ready for maybe the next presidential election?
I don't think so, because if you listen closely to what people have been talking about the past elections, while Obama was the president-elect, a lot of people were talking about it as well, because the Republicans weren't very happy about it, because Obama was the first black Democratic president. So it was a bit difficult at times. The same with even 20, 40 years back, people were putting question marks above the whole electoral college thing, because you want to be represented in the most honest way. And why only 2 candidates if, like in this example, people spoke about the lesser of 2 evils? Why do you have to vote for the lesser of 2 evils if you can have someone that's good as well? With Bernie Sanders, if he had an extra party and he could have been the head of the party, we would have had 3 candidates. Not saying that Bernie Sanders is a better candidate, but then you have options between more people, although the inhabitants still think in the 2-party system. So if you want to do that, it will take a lot of time, because you want to have an honest system, you want to have a uniform system around, well, in every state that you come, and you want to have it in a way that it is representative of the people, and the United States is a big country, so it will take a lot of time. I don't think it's for the next elections. Maybe in the next few years, if voices are still talking about it, because it depends a bit. Because if in the next election nobody cares and everyone is happy with the result, nobody will talk about it. But in an election, in the dirt throwing contest that this election was, it might take a bit more time, and people will be angry about the result, any result. So that's why the representation has been the talking point of the Electoral College right now.
Now, you explained it very well in the beginning of the interview. The system has been called unfair for a long, long time. So do you think the changes are necessary?
Well, if you look at certain countries, like in the United Kingdom, they have the same system. It's the first past the post system. And the United States has that as well, but on a way larger scale. You have counties, or well, departments in England, and it's about a few thousand people. In the United States, 1% can be 100,000 of people. So it depends on the country as well, because if you look at the UK, I'm not pro the first past the post system, but I'm not entirely against it. It has to be worked out a bit better for exceptions. So if it's more, if you're around 60 to 40%, you can talk about having 60 to 40. But if it's 70 to 30, I would say give it to the 70%, because otherwise the other party will just be there to try to stop the other party. So it will be a pushing, pulling contest like we have in Belgium. But in the United States, it's on a way larger scale. I don't think you can use that. I don't think you can use the system that is there right now, because millions of people aren't represented by their president, by this, by that. Okay, there will always be a loser. But in the Senate, in the House of Parliament, it's bad for the people not to have equal representation for the amount of people that vote. Okay, then you still have the problems with the states, because some states are larger than other ones. Some ones are like Alaska. Alaska has a lot of inhabitants. Doesn't have a lot of inhabitants, but has one of the biggest amounts of land they control. So you have inhabitants versus land. So that's why Alaska has, I think, free electoral votes, and California has a lot more. Although in size, it's roughly the same. Maybe Alaska is a bit bigger. I'm not that good on American topology, so it depends. But in my opinion, I think there should be a change, but I'm not entirely sure how it should be. Changed. But the one thing I know for sure is that in the United States, there should be more. The people that vote should be represented in a more honest way, in a more fair system, instead of the way they do it right now.
So I just heard you talk about the Belgian system as well, and you don't seem to like that as much either. So what do you think the perfect middle ground would be between American and the Belgian?
I'm a very difficult person when it comes to politics, because I think that democracy is a flawed system. Okay, it works, it's fairly represented, but the problem is that a lot of people aren't well informed on how they vote or what they vote for. So in Belgium, you have this system of everyone, you don't have to vote, but if you vote, you have to vote, but you don't have to vote for a party. You can just vote blank. But if you do that, you get the problem that you vote for something that you don't know what you vote for. So you vote for a party and you don't know which party you vote for. So that's flawed in a bit, in a sense. I think you should have the right to vote, and I think you should have the right to be taken away from the right to vote. Because right now we have a system in which all parties want to do the same thing. We want to do this and this and this, but only if I am the one who can do it. So, you have the same idea, I have the same idea. I'm going to stop you from doing that because I want to do that. And I'm not for that idea. It's just a pulling contest, and I don't like that. Mm-hmm. But in America, it's the same thing because of the first past the post system. It's the same thing. So where is the middle ground? I'm not sure. I'm just not happy with democracy as a whole, because you stand still in a way. You stand still on the place you are because you get pulled towards both sides, but you can't really go much to one of both sides because the pull is on the same axis. So it depends. But in my opinion, if you find a way to implement the rights system of the voting part of America in Belgium, and we take the fairness of voting in Belgium to America, you might have a good middle ground. I'm not sure because it's purely theoretically, but that is my opinion. That's my last thought.
All right, thank you again for this interview, Ben.
No problem at all.
We will be back to the studio.